Magik is one of the characters in Marvel Rivals that I just don't understand why isn't getting as much play. And I think it's just that players don't really understand how to unlock her potential. She's the one diver who continues to be a threat outside of her primary burst window, and she has a lot of potential to carry games. With a massively impactful ultimate, really safe and smooth playstyle, and some sick skins, if you like melee style characters and dive style characters, you should be picking up Magik and making her one of your mains. In this masterclass guide, we're going to teach you how to be as impactful as possible on the Queen of Limbo. This is not a beginner guide, so if you don't really know too much about Magik, you should check out our beginner guide to Magik first. Now, before we get too much into her playstyle and what you should be doing in game, first we have to make sure you understand her combos and the intricacies to her kit. First things first is her dash. It doesn't work the way that you might expect. She doesn't dash towards your reticle, instead she basically just dashes forwards. And if her body doesn't make contact with the other player, you do not actually successfully do the knockup. This can lead to some frustration. If you're pointing directly at the player and you begin the dash, you will dash at an angle that you won't actually make contact. So instead, you have to make sure you're aiming slightly to the right of their current position to make sure when you dash forward, your character's model actually makes contact. The reticle position and the position of her sword does not matter for the dash, but it does matter for where she's aiming. This does take a little bit of work, and you should head into the practice range and set some horizontally moving enemies that you can practice this dash towards, making sure you get used to how to dash to an enemy moving to the left, as well as an enemy moving to the right. And getting a lot of time practicing the dash is extremely important. The next thing you need to know is the animation cancel. Every time you do the big sword swing, if you use your melee strike, the V key on PC, or right analog stick down on controller, you're going to do a follow-up punch. And you can animation cancel the slash into the punch for a very quick burst of damage. This will result in doing more damage over a short period of time instead of just doing your rotation of basic strikes. But this only works within 3 meters, so you need to make sure to be up and close. Lots of Magik's combos will leave targets with slivers of HP, and if you're able to do this melee strike, you're going to be able to kill them before they're able to get any healing. You need to get this flawless, making sure that every time you do the sword swipe and do this melee follow-up, you never interrupt your sword swipe's damage, and you always manage to hit the actual melee strike. Once you got these two down, now we've got the blade follow-up combo. When you charge up your sword with a secondary attack, you unleash this flying projectile. And if you activate your dash immediately upon firing the projectile, you'll hit the target at the same time, doing a massive chunk of damage that players cannot react to. Then during the knockup, you can do a basic melee combo and take the target out. This gives such a small window of time that players can react that it should be able to secure you kills. However, it's really easy to cancel the slash attack with your dash, making it so you don't get the full damage out. You need to be very well practiced at firing off the slash and then dashing as quickly as you can. You need to get used to speeding up how quickly you dash after firing, but never interrupting the fire itself. The playstyle around this move is to flank into off angles. Find isolated out targets, charge up your slash attack, and unleash it into a follow-up and destroy the target immediately. Then quickly escape using your portals to dash yourself out of sight. If you're waiting to fire off your slash and you don't see an opportunity to actually get your combo off, you can cancel the charge up with your stepping discs and then leave a demon behind you to cover your escape and get out of there. This will save the cooldown on your slash and make sure you then have it for the next opportunity to engage. This doesn't need to be done every time, but if you know you're going to get another attempt within the 8-ish seconds that it would take for the slash to come back, you don't want to waste it. Once you've mastered this combo, you've got the basic insta-kill combo that Magik can perform, which is really important to have in your kit. However, you're not going to be using this nearly as often as you probably think you should. Most Magiks are constantly trying to go for this and are using their dash regularly to dash into enemy lines. This leaves you extremely vulnerable. You now don't have an escape option that's going to get you back to safety. Your stepping discs are useful, but they don't have the speed or distance that your dash gives you. So professional and high-tier Magik players usually save their dash and only use it to get out of tricky situations or to secure a final kill that's going to win you a team fight. You don't want to be using this every opportunity, and you want to make sure it's more often available to you to save you. You being alive is way more important to your team than you maybe getting a kill. And you never know if you're actually going to get the kill before you do the dash, so wasting your dash early is going to end up with you on the pavement way too often. So your demon is actually extremely important to the kit, and most Magiks are using the demon as often as they possibly can. Almost every time you use your stepping discs, you should be summoning your demon. It's very rare that you're going to want to do the slash version of the follow-up after stepping discs. Your demon does huge amounts of damage, blocks shots for you, and can create danger zones that enemies don't want to go into. If you're watching the really good Magics in play, they find close off angles to the enemy team, stepping disc themselves into the enemy backline and drop a demon onto the enemy players. Do some slash melee combos trying to chunk down players, and then if there's any reaction to their presence, will quickly dash themselves back to safety, usually to a different exit point than the entry point they came in on, or dashing themselves back to their allied teammates. Magik is extremely squishy, and you never want to have more than one player paying attention to you. If there is focus coming in on you, you need to be dashing and stepping disc yourself to safety. Though she is more durable than the average player because of that constant bonus health she's getting whenever she does damage. This also comes from your demons, so anytime your demon does a slash, you're getting that awesome bonus health. And it can make you really survivable if you're able to get into a 1v1 duel. Also, your stepping gifts gives you those invincibility frames. Every time you're teleporting, you cannot take damage. You should be using this regularly to stop incoming crowd control effects or major abilities. You should almost never get hit by any of the powerful burst ultimates in the game because you should be able to just instantly stepping disc and avoid the effect. If you aren't fast enough at that, you need to practice it. A lot. It's really, really important. If you're ever on the retreat, make sure to use your stepping discs and then summon your demon. Enemies will now have to run through the demon, taking a bunch of extra slashes and giving you some chunks of bonus health. If they take too much damage from the demon, you can quickly turn around on them and do a dash slash combo to take them out. You should be an absolute threat that players are not willing to chase down, and your high mobility should have you constantly coming in from different angles, making it so the enemy team does not feel safe. Don't get yourself caught and don't get yourself crowd controlled are the two most important things on Magik. So many Magik players jump into clumped up enemy teams and immediately get deleted, and might feel that the character isn't very good because she doesn't seem to have an answer in that situation. And the answer to that situation is that you're just playing her wrong. Don't go into that fight, or if you do, simply stepping desks in, drop a demon, and dash yourself to safety. The demon will do some good chunk damage and build up your ultimate, and you'll get out to safety to be able to continue to harass the enemy lines. If the enemy team has to play in a tight ball just because you exist, you're doing your job, and you're leaving them in a much more vulnerable state, making sure that your allies can get more out of their effects on the targets. And you should be just taking out any target that begins to isolate themselves out from the group. Now, of course, everything changes when you ultimate, and you become an absolute brawling teamfight nightmare on Magik. In your ultimate form, some things change up. You don't really want to do the melee cancel. This actually ends up being quite a bit slower and not nearly as powerful. Your massive attacks and multiple strikes are going to be the key to using this ability, and you should be dashing around and doing your big AoE swing as often as possible. You should also be following up your stepping discs with the AoE spin in this demonic form. Again, the AoE damage from this form is very impactful and very important, and you don't need to be summoning your demon too often when you're in the demonic state. There's still plenty of times where a demon is good. Having it slash away at vulnerable targets is always going to be valuable, but getting massive swings and moving around really quickly is more important when you're in your awakened form. Now, when you're in this demonic form, you have a new insta-kill combo, and it's just doing a charge up of your sword slash into the E follow-up. This will instantly kill even a Luna in their full ultimate. It does over 300 points of damage and will chunk targets. You're going to have to get really good and practiced at performing this move into clumped up enemy teams. Magik is one of the few duelists who can reliably take out healers out of their healing ultimates as long as she's patient and able to actually get her moves off on the correct target. Another thing a lot of Magics do wrong in this demonic form is that they stay too stationary. You still need to be dashing around and moving unpredictably throughout the fights. If you watch these Magics play out in the top end matches, they are regularly stepping discs and dashing themselves around the arena, making sure no enemy can focus in and lock them down. Because again, crowd control is your death. Even in the demon form, you don't actually have extra HP, it's just the extra bonus HP you can get from doing constant damage. And if you ever get CC'd, you're quickly going to get burned down. If there's not an active healing ultimate going on, you often are going to want to use your dash just to move around the fight, although you should still try and make sure that it makes contact on a target to get that extra chunk of damage. A dash into melee strike should kill most players. If you're ever being denied entry into a fight, just charging up your slash attack and firing off the fully charged projectile is still very valuable. The chunk damage they can do can be followed up by another player for a really clean kill on a target from range. And you shouldn't get impatient and try and dash into the balled up enemy team. Take advantage pop shots, as well as summon your demon at angles that if enemies try and move around, they get shredded. The demon is amazing in close quarters combat, making sure to use this anytime you get yourself into a tight hallway or into a room. You're going to win the fight if the enemy isn't careful. The spin dash is the final move you need to know. To activate this, you have to use your stepping discs and then use your basic attack into dash at the same time. The follow-up to the stepping disc basic attack will make you do a whirlwind strike, and then the dash will dash you forwards, doing the whirlwind strike onto all targets that you move through. It's not the most optimal move to use in most situations, but occasionally it can be a really good way to get yourself a huge chunk of bonus health, slashing into multiple targets. And in your demonic ultimate form, this could be a really powerful move, dashing in and swinging a big AoE sword into the entire enemy team. Don't be afraid to disengage out of fights and get new angles. Many players in the lower ranks will put themselves into long ongoing fights rather than disengaging and resetting up for success. This has them spamming their abilities and desperately trying to get some kind of value out of their attack, rather than just disengaging and making sure that you can get a more effective combo. These pros will often dash themselves out of combat, reset themselves out of line of sight, do another build-up slash attack, and then come in on a healer for a quick burst of damage, surprising the enemy team because they weren't used to her being in the fray. With the value added from your demon, the enemy team should be really scared to chase after you. So you should be able to escape down hallways rather easily, and if enemies decide to chase after you, they should quickly learn why you shouldn't. Don't hold your dash if you're going to guaranteed secure a kill on a target. You are, after all, an assassin, and going for a 1-for-1 trade is supposed to be part of your playstyle. Just don't risk yourself going in for a dash that you aren't sure is going to get you a kill. A lot of these good magics are going to fire off their slash, stepping disc into the enemy team, summon their demon, and slash a target. Then if that target is below a certain threshold of HP, we'll quickly do a dash into them while they're literally touching them to secure that kill, and then try and stepping disc themselves out to safety. Getting that kill is extremely valuable as Magic, and making sure you get that kill secure is going to be important. And figuring out when you're guaranteed to land the combo and get your kill versus when you're guessing is going to be a really important skill to learn as you master this character. As with all these master guides, the number one thing to think about is every time that you die, it's your fault, and it's your job to reduce the amount of times you die in every fight. Anytime you go down without taking out a target, you've made some kind of calculation error in your play, and you need to figure out how to resolve that error to make sure you don't do it in the future. And that error is almost never actually because of your allies, but it's actually something that you chose to do that you didn't actually make the right decision in doing that action. Try and shore those up, and the more of those that you remove from your play, the more likely you're going to reach success in your games. I hope this master guide helped you figure out how to play Magic more comprehensively. I'm Zesty Fresh with Zaza Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.